Hail Caesar. This is Caesar from the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the movie I just saw a couple of days ago, and it's a really awesome summer blockbuster. So, I'm just gonna start by saying that. You don't have to see the first Planet of the Apes to appreciate this film, but it probably is better if you do, because it tells the backstory of Caesar, how he evolved. He just started out as a regular chimpanzee, and he's raised by a human, played by James Franco, and becomes this super advanced chimpanzee, like genetically enhanced. And the second movie begins about 10 years after that, when most of the world's population has been wiped out by the simian flu, which is this virus that spun off from this technology they use to evolve the apes. But humans, it's deadly to them, so most of the human race has been wiped out. And it's a spectacular sequel. It's right up there with, Star Wars, and like all those other classic films. Indiana Jones is just one of the best sequels like ever made for a film. It's much more epic, action-packed, emotional. It's just better on every level. Not that the first one wasn't good, but this is way better. It just, from the moment it begins till it ends, it's completely mesmerizing. Basically, it's about Caesar and his apes are living in the forests, and they haven't had contact with humans for over 10 years. And one day, a human comes across a couple of them in the woods, and he accidentally harms one of them. And so it begins. It's kind of a movie about apes and humans trying to live in peace with one another, but there's a lot of complications that arise, and it's kind of tragic what happens later in the film. Let's just say there is a battle, and a lot of humans and apes do get killed, so... There's this one ape in particular that's not a very good ape. The only word to describe him is psychotic, and I don't want to go too much into detail, but he becomes a major wedge between the humans and the apes, this one psychotic ape in the story. The movie I found to be surprisingly emotional. I mean, I teared up so many times during this movie, especially anything to do with Caesar's character. Andy Serkis plays Caesar in the film. He did all the motion capture and movement for the character, and he was just incredible in this role. I mean, the man deserves an Academy Award nomination. I mean, Caesar is so real. He has such a good soul as a character. He's very torn between the apes and the humans, and you really see that internal struggle that he's having. And it's cool because Caesar has a family in this movie. He has a wife and 2 sons. So he has something to fight for, and yet he's trying to defend his people, and yet he doesn't want to go to war either. And there's so many moments with Caesar in the film that you just really feel for him. And just Andy Serkis captured the emotional heart to this character so well, especially when the camera moves in close to his eyes. There's just so much emotional depth there. For like all the apes are created using CG, but you really cannot tell it when you watch this film. The apes look so incredibly real that the whole time I was just kind of like, oh, like my mouth hanging open. It's just incredible. It really pushes the bar, like raises it for CGI effects. So. As with all the apes, they all look fantastic in this. The cinematography in this film is breathtaking. The camera pulls in really close in some moments and then pulls further away to, and the sets are just glorious in the film. The way the forest looks that the apes live in is stunning. All the sets have a lot of texture and personality to them. It's just a very cinematically beautiful film to look at. No scene in the film feels wasted. Like, every scene in the film feels important. There's no moments in the film that are boring or slow or anything like that. Like, the whole film is just perfectly paced, has a consistent tone to it. I should talk a little bit about the humans in this. The actor playing the lead human in this He's the one that makes contact with the apes. And the reason the humans make contact with the apes, I don't want to give too much away, but it's something they need to do to help preserve the humans that are left. And it's basically in a territory that the apes live in that they have to do this, so that's why they come into their territory. I cannot remember the name of the actor playing the lead human in this, but he's fantastic. He was only in one film that I can remember, and it was Zero Dark 30. Other than that, I do not recognize the actor. But he's really good. He has a family of his own as well, a son and a wife. And he forges a very special friendship with Caesar, as you see in the film. And more than anything, the movie, I think, is about that relationship between ape and man. And these beings, like, they're beyond apes. Like, they're so intelligent that they're basically another intelligent race on our planet, just like humans. And but unfortunately, all hell does break loose in the film, in spite of trying to keep the peace and all that. The battle scenes in it, they're not overly violent, because it is like a family-rated film, so, like, well, PG, I believe. So the battle scenes are not that violent. Like, it doesn't really show close-ups of people getting, but it is pretty brutal how the apes kill these people, and in particular the one ape that's pretty psychotic. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but for those of you who haven't seen it. But yeah, it goes to a pretty dark place, the film, especially by the end. And it definitely leaves a lot open for a sequel. There is definitely going to be a third film coming out, because there's tons of loose ends, and it basically has this huge cliffhanger at the end, so. But the musical score in this is fantastic as well. Like, it's the kind of music that you hear it and it just stays in your head. It's just, you know, one of those two, you just keep humming it in your head, like, long after it's over. It's just such fantastic music. And there's homages to the original Planet of the Apes as well with some of the music, especially with some bongo drums and things like that. There is no line in the movie that says, you know, you damn dirty ape or anything like that. I mean, the movie does stand alone as an amazing, you know, Planet of the Apes film. It's nothing like the other films where it's just people wearing, like, rubber suits and all that. You know, rubber makeup on their face, and like, they look like apes, but they're really, really big. What else can I say about this? It was just very entertaining. It's one of the, you know, the best movies I've seen this year. Right up there with, you know, X-Men, you know, Days of Future Past. And, yeah, it's just a really thrilling action-adventure story. Very, very emotional. You know, it surprised me how emotional it was. It really, my expectations were more than met with this film, and exceeded. So I really love the film, and the 3D, like, I don't know, like, the 3D effects were okay in it, but I don't think it would be much different, like, seeing it in 2D. Either way, it looks fine. But yeah, I would suggest that you don't need really to pay extra money for the 3D. It would look good in 2D too. Like, none of the 3D effects were really that great. Like, it's cool to see the apes in 3D, but other than that, like, there's not really any really big 3D effects with, like, things coming out of the screen or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, seeing it in 2D would be fine. I'm sure it would be just as good. I always find 3D to be a little distracting anyways, so. But yeah, Planet of the Apes, Dawn of Planet of the Apes. It was a very good movie. One of the best movies I've seen this summer so far. Definitely one to check out at the theater while it's still there. If you want to be blown away and just have a really intense emotional experience at the cinema. It's just technically, visually, cinematically brilliant on every level. So it's, in my opinion, a perfect movie. I couldn't see a single flaw in it. So yeah, I highly recommend it. So that's my review on Dawn of Planet of the Apes. And next I'm probably going to be reviewing The Edge of Tomorrow. Okay, so have a good night everyone, and enjoy. Bye-bye.